what are the themes, what are the stocks that you should watch out for. That we will tell you actually in Cracker Stocks at 1:30 p.m. But right now, this is Deal or No Deal, where we take your queries and we ask our experts as to what should you do with these with the counters that you're already invested in, or if you're looking to invest in. We give you an exact breakdown of the fundamentals and the technical analysis with our experts. And joining me today on the technical front, as always, is Kunal Bothra, while on the fundamentals, I have Lancelot D'Cunha, who's joining us in the show. A very good morning to both of you, gentlemen. A very happy Diwali to both of you. Happy Diwali to you as well, Lancelot, and your entire team.
Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali to you as well.
All right, so let's kickstart with the queries then. And the first one is coming in from Yuvraj. He's written to us from Chennai, and he wants to know about any one stock from the biotechnology space which he can accumulate from this Diwali onwards, that is from today or maybe tomorrow onwards. What's your take, Lancelot? Biotechnology, which companies would make the cut in this particular space, and which one do you think Yuvraj should place his bet on?
So I think in this space, there are a couple of small companies there, but the one that I would look at would be Syngene International, because it is a company that is engaged in providing services for new molecule discovery in the biotechnology space. And we've seen considerably there are a large amount of new deals that they have won in this space, along with various global collaborators in terms of new molecule discovery, and that is something that will actually play out over the next 12 months, and you will see revenues starting to kick in, because at this point in time, these are mainly on a pilot project basis. And once the discovery happens, then they switch into the contract manufacturing or the larger setup basis, and that is where you will actually see huge revenues creep in. And this trend is happening because more and more companies are looking for alternatives to China. So this is part of the China plus one story. In terms of valuations, the stock looks a little bit expensive because it's not yet pricing in all these deals that are coming in, but this is something that one can look to begin to accumulate at every decline. You keep adding to this stock, because over the next 12 to 24 months, one should see very good volumes and value from this company.
Okay, so Syngene is the deal stock coming in from Lancelot for the biotechnology space. But Kunal, coming to you now, which stock would you recommend coming in from this space, and take us through what the charts for your recommendation also looks like?
See, I think first of all, happy Diwali to all of you as well as all the viewers of ET Now. Now, there are many stocks in this biotech space as such, but I have taken few of them based on the charts and the history of the charts. Few of the new ones, for example, Concord Biotech, etc. The chart history is a lot more limited, so I've not taken that. But the two stocks which I would want to highlight over here, first, of course, is Biocon, and how over the longer term basis the stock has been trending up hard from a base which was closer to 200 just 2 years back. I think 2022 and 23 start is where the stock made a major base or a end of a major correction, and from there on the stock started this process of going into an uptrend mode. Now, the concern for Biocon is that the corrective wave is not yet completed, which means there could be a residual correction of another 20-30 points for the stock, may come back sub the 300 mark. I think sub the 300 levels could be a very good zone to accumulate Biocon, especially if you're a long-term investor and looking at this resurgence of uptrend for the stock in the last 2 years. But the second chart is very interesting. I think that's a stock which has given a confirmation of a very big breakout on the longer term basis, and that's Advanced Enzyme. Now look at this over the last 4 to 5 years, more than 4-5 years of charts for Advanced Enzyme. After a massive consolidation as well as a correction from 2017, 18, 19, the stock fell from almost 450 levels to 100, but from 100 the stock managed to make a comeback towards 450 mark. Now what's interesting is that the stock went through a corrective phase yet again, but this correction is much shallow in nature as compared to the correction which happened in the previous leg for Advanced Enzyme, and the stock has confirmed a breakout. This is a classical sign of a breakout for a stock when it restarts its long-term uptrend. So I believe from current levels, looking at the charts and the pattern for the stock on the longer term basis, Advanced Enzyme could be a very good bet from this particular space which you're looking out for.
All right, so Yuvraj, not one but two counters is what you've got, because there's a deal coming in from Lancelot when you talk about Syngene, while for Kunal on the technicals it is Advanced Enzyme that it's a deal coming in for the biotech related counters. All right, let me take this next query then. It's coming in from Padma Sivarao, who's writing to us from Bangalore and wants a view on Geo Financial Services, whether this would make the cut even on the technical front, or when you talk about the fundamental front. What's your take, Kunal, coming in on Geo Financials in particular, branched out of Reliance Industries, and this one has had a okayish ride, right?
Yeah, okay, right. But I think looking at the space, the financial services pocket, and the kind of volatility the sector has gone through in the last 1.5 odd year, I think it's been a possibly above average performer from the entire space. Now, what's interesting about the charts for Geo Financial Services is that the stock is now on the verge of giving a stochastic breakout. This is a very strong indicator breakout, and this generally, when it happens, when the stock comes back into a corrective phase and the indicator corrects, comes back into an oversold territory, and from there, when we start to see a reversal, we see the stock making new highs for itself. So, for example, we've seen this phenomena for Geo Financial Services when the stock got listed in mid of 2023. From there, the stock managed to end a corrective phase and start off an uptrending phase, which lasted for not just a period of 2-3 months, but it managed to make the take the stock back towards its new high. Similar was the case over here in the month of August when the stock had fallen down, the indicators reversed, and you saw the stock making a new high for itself. So this is the positive charts for positive indication for Geo Financial Services, which means at current levels of 310, 320 where it's trading right now, we could be looking out for the stock aiming for at least a new swing high to 350 to 380 plus levels.
Okay, so that's a technical check coming in on Geo Financial Services. But Lancelot, also take us through what the stock is looking and what it's doing on the fundamental, because recently a lot of news flow has also come in for this one, be it the payment aggregator not coming in or its JV with BlackRock. Tell us on the back of some fundamental indicators what this stock is looking like to you, and would it be a deal or a no deal for you this time?
So I think, on a fundamental basis, yes, the stock has seen a lot of news, and probably the stock has risen, on the basis of expectations based on that news. For one, they got their license to act as a digital services payment aggregator. So that could give them opportunities in terms of, acting for payment as a payment gateway for various services. And they also have announced a joint venture with BlackRock, which is going to be focused on the AMC space. They've got the AMC license, approval, but it will take time for the, for the income to get generated, because once the AMC is launched, it has to go out and start accumulating assets, and then the fees will creep in. So that's a little long time out. And so in the meanwhile, the stock does look expensive. And so from a valuation perspective, it is better to accumulate on declines, and wait for the, the plans or the results to pan out. And then you can start to, you see the benefits. But it's an accumulate on declines at this point in time, given the risk reward ratio.
On declines is the call coming in from Lancelot. When you talk about Geo Financial Services, for Kunal, it's a deal. And apart from that, since we will be skipping out in this week's edition of Pathshala, let me pose a quick question to Kunal. What does stochastic actually mean, Kunal? I know you've been doing Pathshala with us every Friday for the last 4 years, but this one, I don't think I've come across this one, and I'm interested myself to understand what does the term actually mean.
Yeah, so the emphasis is last 4 years. And so what I'll do is I'll, in fact, maybe, when we resume Pathshala, post the Diwali, I'll probably take stochastics in detail in terms of how the oscillator works. But it's just indicator which is more range bound, and that's why the term oscillator, not an indicator as such, because it oscillates between a trading range. Generally, the range for stochastic, and it's more of the nature of the trend which the stock has gone through. The short-term trends are much more better captured when you look at stochastic oscillators. But the details, I think we'll discuss in the next Pathshala.
Okay, looking forward to this next episode of Pathshala, because I feel like we have a lot to learn in that episode. But on that note, viewers, we'll slip into a very short break on this special edition of Deal or No Deal, and keep it going with all your stock queries just on the other side of this break.
Welcome back. You're watching Diwali special Deal No Deal right here on ET Now, where we have our experts break down the exact technical indicators as well as the fundamental cues that you need to watch out for the stock that you are invested in. We are taking viewer queries, and this next one is coming in from Jay Krishnan, who's writing to us from Kerala, who has ABB purchased at a level of 8,082 rupees per share for a medium-term horizon. Wants to know what's the view coming in from both of our experts. What's your take coming in on ABB in particular, actually, Lancelot, given the fact that you have seen some sort of a hiccup or a speed breaker come in for capital goods names, right? Either it is the execution or the order inflow has slowed from compared to what we've actually seen over the last 1 to 2 years or so. What's your take coming in on ABB? And if you could just shed some light on Siemens, because we have a couple of queries that have come in on Siemens as well.
So I think, we have seen the capital goods companies, both Siemens and ABB, rise significantly in the last 1 year. And obviously, it is going to take some time for earnings growth to justify such high valuations. And so from the high values, we've seen a correction take place both in Siemens and ABB India. But I think on the overall situation, the order book looks good. Execution obviously takes a little longer time in terms of being able to generate revenues. So from that perspective, one needs to wait a little bit longer, because even at this valuation, it's trading at close to 90 times earnings. And that is a little expensive for, even though it's a high growth company, it's a little expensive. So I think if one has to make good monies on this stock, one should look at the potential and the earnings that growth that is there, and then weigh the risk versus the reward, because you could see a one negative quarter could again result in a bit of re-rating on the stock.
So that's the view coming in on ABB India and Siemens and largely capital goods. But Kunal, coming to you for your technical take on ABB, if you take a look at the last 3 months, last 1 month, the stock has been correcting. Do you think on the charts, are you penciling in some further correction, or now do you think some reversal is ahead of us and the stock could pick up once again?
So, stocks like ABB, Siemens, L&T, etc., these are, very strong pillars for portfolios, because, these stocks over a long term, they do fairly well for themselves, as well as, for portfolios of investors. But then there are phases where these stocks remain a lot more sideways. They go into the corrective phases, they go into a shell in terms of a range or a consolidation. But that's the point where traders as well as long-term investors should actually try to chip in into these names, whether to try and accumulate if you've bought at higher levels, or look to buy fresh when these stocks end back into your respective corrective phases. So this is the charts for ABP. And again, the stochastic oscillator. So as we can see for the stock right now, that it's been into a range. So 7,000 to approximately 9,000 has been the trading range for the last 8 to 9 months for a stock like ABB. The stock has come back towards the support zone in terms of the price points, but the indicator has not yet come into an oversold territory, which means that from here, what you can expect is that the stock may get into a process of a bounce first, and then maybe a further leg of correction to be 6,500, 6,000 levels. So what you should be looking to do is, if you've already bought the stock, then I think there could be an opportunity for you, say over the next 3 to 6 months, where the stock may correct further, come back towards the support point around the 6,000 to 6,500 territory. That's the point where you should look to buy the stock. And from a short term kind of a view, I would expect the stock to bounce back to 7,500, 7,800 levels. So depending on your time horizon, I would believe that it's a keeper in terms of your portfolio. But if you're looking to accumulate, then wait for levels of 6,000 to 6,500.
Okay, so at this point, Kunal, is this stock a deal or a no deal right now at these levels?
Well, it's definitely a deal, as I said, as part of your portfolio, but your time horizon has to be not short-term oriented, but more of long-term.
Okay, so that's the take coming in on ABB, both from the fundamentals and the technicals. Let's move to the next query that's coming in from Subramanian from Chennai. And he says that he has 50 shares of Sham Properties bought at a price of 117 rupees. Lancelot, what's your take on Sham Properties, at least on the fundamentals? How is the stock looking to you?
Fundamental basis looks attractive because, it has a large parcel of land in Pune, and valuations are about 24 times earnings. But it's also cheap for a particular reason, because the long-term growth is difficult to justify, and even developing this one piece of land could take a while. So from an investor perspective, it may be better to look at switching to, instead of buying a company like Sham Properties, which looks cheap, while companies like, maybe a Godrej Properties or Oberoi or even Mahindra Lifespace, they look a little bit more expensive, but you're seeing better traction in terms of revenues. And because of the brands, they're able to sell a lot more, and hence they have much lower leverage positions. So these companies would be better options to build some exposure in the real estate space as opposed to Shriram Properties.
All right, so that's the take coming in on Shriram Properties. But Kunal, what's your take on this one? Limited chart history, is it? Because this is one of the most recent listed counter when you talk about the entire Shriram franchise.
Well, yeah, limited history and not so exciting as such, because when you look at the charts, as you can see, that the stock is more range bound, but it's very volatile, and those swings are almost 40 to 50% of swings for a stock like Shriram Properties, where from 140 plus levels, the stock has gone through a support which is around the 90 marks, which is a 50-point drop into the stock price, and these are multiple tests towards the stock in a span of the last 12 months for the stock. So price wise, it will be looking very attractive. But then I think there is only a very minimal section of your portfolio which you should keep into these high beta names. So price wise, I would believe it's a deal. But as compared to the quality of stocks, from the real estate pack as such, I believe there are much more better opportunities available. Something, for example, like Oberoi Realty, DLF, Anantraj, something which I've been recommending. These are few names which I think could be much better suited if you're looking at this as a core portfolio from the real estate pack.
Okay, so that's the take coming in on real estate. But Cheryl, real estate is a sector that has been in a slump.
You track very closely?
I do. It's a sector I track very closely, and it's been in a slump recently. And we haven't received a lot of queries on real estate, so it's actually surprising to see a real estate query coming in. And it's just a great outlook on Shriram Properties.
Absolutely, because also given the fact what has happened, Snehi, over the last 2 years, the amount of real estate queries that we've got, it's been like, I think Kunal will be the best person to talk about it, given the fact that we saw a real boom in the entire real estate space, isn't it? There was one phase that you'd only get real estate queries because everybody felt FOMO, in Kunal's words, isn't it?
Yeah, FOMO, and I think there were lot many stocks which gave multiples in terms of breakouts. So it started off with DLF, and then I think it just moved and spread on to the the non-F&O stocks of the mid cap and the real estate pack, and I think the returns are just fabulous over the last 3-4 years.
Absolutely. Returns have been fabulous over the last 3-4 years. And remember, viewers, when you see the markets rise that much or any sector rise that much, there will be a time when there will be a pause, there will be a consolidation. But if the fundamentals are intact, then there's nothing to worry about. You should just enjoy the break, isn't it? But let me take the next query then. This one is coming in from our viewer, that is OSN Reddy, who's writing to us from Hyderabad, and he wants to know if it's good time to buy Dr. Reddy's for a 2-year time frame, and also if there's any suggestion of any other stock in the space that our viewer can look at. Lancelot, what's your take coming in the pharma space? Because this one is also coming back in action. A lot of top picks coming in. Kunal had a top pick, Lupin, on the earlier this week when you talk about the pharma pack. What about Dr. Reddy's? Do you think it's a deal at this time that you need to seal?
I think I don't think it's a deal at this time because there are better opportunities available in the marketplace, and especially when you look at the fundamentals, you find that the valuations are a little bit higher on Dr. Reddy's as compared to a company like Cipla or even JB Chemicals, because these are companies which are showing a good amount of growth. For example, Cipla yesterday got news that their Goa plant has been cleared as far as the US FDA inspection is concerned. So that means they have to, they can start to again export from that plant to the US, and we are seeing US demand pick up from them. So I would say that it's considering the valuations, company like Cipla or even JB Chemicals could be a better opportunity to buy as opposed to Dr. Reddy's at this point in time.
The fundamental take coming in on Dr. Reddy's, Lancelot believes there are other better plays in the pharma space that our viewer can make. But Kunal, how is Dr. Reddy's looking like to you on the charts? What's the outlook? And on the charts, would it be a deal or a no deal? Well,
I think it's a deal because the stock has come back towards a major trendline support on the longer term basis. So this is the charts for Dr. Reddy, and look at the way the stock has adhered to a strong trend line over the last 2.5 odd years. So, starting off from 2022, when the stock was almost at 750, 800 towards an adjusted prices, it's been exhibiting this classic support and a retest towards the trend line. Now, even currently, the stock which has corrected from 1400 has now come back to almost this 1200 to 1250 mark, which is again a point where the stock has come back towards a very attractive territory in terms of prices. So, it may try and spend some time over here, consolidate, but price-wise, I think it's a very attractive level. I would definitely go for a deal on Dr. Reddys.
So divergent views coming in from our experts. When on fundamentals, what Lancelot believes that the better play in the pharma space that you can look at this point in time when you talk with news flow about the fundamentals or the business plans going ahead. But technically, according to Kunal, we have reached a good level that you can actually look at Dr. Reddys instead. So it's a deal coming in from Kunal, coming in on this Diwali. But Lancelot, any big deal that you think that you have actually made over the last few years that you can share with our viewers, which has actually worked well, a theme that has worked well, if not a stock?
So I think, the theme that has worked well is to look at some of the, the chemical space over the last 2 years. And we've seen, good growth because 2 years ago, the chemical sector was being spurred on by the China Plus One. And there were companies in India which had the competencies to produce the kind of chemicals that are required, or specialty chemicals, and companies like Deepak Nitrite, SRF, we've all seen, they've performed very well. Now at the moment, the industry is undergoing a bit of consolidation. So, and given that, global prices of chemicals in the short term are softening, you are seeing some amount of consolidation. But this, I think, from a long-term perspective, still continues to be an attractive sector and maybe attractive companies to slowly build into your portfolio.
That's the big deal, in fact, coming in from Lancelot. But Kunal, on the charts, what's been the big deal for you, or what's the big deal that you are predicting going ahead, and what's just worked out well for you so far?
Well, I think there are many things in terms of stocks. Of course, something which we've been recommending on the channel over the last 2-3 years. Tata Motors is something which has worked out exceptionally well. Anant Raj was one of the picks which I'd highlighted, so I think that's worked reasonably well, and there are a lot more other names which have done reasonably well. But there are few stocks which are also, I think, now getting back into the radar in terms of a breakout. So other than the cracker stocks, something which I believe could probably perform very well from current levels. One of them could be IDFC First Bank, which looks very strong on the longer term charts. From the mid-cap arena, financial services pocket, ABB Capital is something which I've been very bullish on. That's a chart which I'm expecting that the stock would probably get into a stronger breakout further, territory further. But the previous name which I mentioned, Anant Raj, I still believe that the stock from current levels is now looking very attractive from a longer term basis. So even though the stock has moved up 6x, 7x from the last time when we recommended, but I think even from current levels of 600, 700, where the stock is trading right now, I still believe that it's a very good big deal in terms of the long-term play.
Definitely is a big deal and a big bonus coming in for all of our experts. Apart from Kunal actually giving out his cracker stocks today at 1:30 p.m, you've got some more picks that he is looking forward to. Definitely Anant Raj being a deal that has been a good one. If you've sealed at the right time, then I'm sure a lot of our viewers have been writing to us that they have actually done that and they have benefited out of that. But thank you so much, Kunal, as well as Lancelot, for being part of this edition of Deal or No Deal. Especially a big thank you coming in for Kunal, because all the 4 days he's been a part of the show. And yes, once again, Lancelot, thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we come to the end of this entire week edition of Deal No Deal. Hopefully, we will see you next Diwali with the special edition of the show. But here's a big Diwali wish coming in from Snehi, our producer Somashri, as well as the director Ravinder. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned. If
you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.